What is your message to the world, Alan, to accelerate these changes towards a better and sustainable time?
Your company, Pure Energy, does not create energy. It deals with the energy. How can you influence the production of energy to ensure a renewable future?
Now is a good time to start thinking about the future and coming out of this pandemic and the economics of it.
How do you influence your customers to use your office and to save energy?
Well, what we do in Pure Energy is we promote particularly on-site renewable energy applications.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Excellence Talk. As usual, together with Dr. Christian Forstner, we are welcoming an important guest, this time from Scotland. Hello Christian.
Hello. Hey Murat, good to be with you again. And we have a very important guest from Scotland now, Alan MacLeod. Alan, you founded Pure Energy 2.5 years ago as a startup on the basis of leadership in project execution experience worldwide. And that included 5 years in the Asian subcontinent. And Murat has the first question for you.
Alan, the vision of Pure Energy is to be a best value sustainable generation provider by connecting businesses to a low-cost renewable future. Isn't this a contradiction, renewable energy and low cost?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Murat and Christian. It's great to be here. And I've seen your previous shows, and it's been very informative, as I say. And I'm very happy to be able to participate in this video. So thank you for that. The first question is always a very good one. It's a business one. What is the price? What is the price of something? And if we look back in the past 9 years, there are many studies, there are many respected institutes, economic institutes, who track the price of renewables or commodity prices globally. And what we see as of last year, 2019, that the cost of offshore wind, for example, has fallen by 29%. The cost of onshore wind has fallen by 40%. The cost of solar PV has exceeded all expectations, you could argue. It's fallen by 82% over the same period, which is really impressive by any scale, by any technology. It's an impressive reduction in costs. If we develop that and we go to electricity costs for utility scale solar, that's also reflected this change altering in the technology price structure, and that's fallen 13% year on year. And that's almost, in terms of US dollars, almost 0.07 cents per kilowatt hour. In some parts of the world, it's even less than that. In terms of onshore and offshore wind, that's also fell at utility scale around about 9% year on year. And that's around between 53 cents to 5 cents to 10 cents per kilowatt hour for newly commissioned projects. So we are in a market here, certainly from my business point of view, where the commodity is getting cheaper. It's a really interesting market to be in because we are focusing now less on the commodity and more on the business model. What are the models that are going to work with commodity prices driving in this direction? The other thing that, and certainly in the UK, that's helped drive costs down is the competitive bidding market, and that includes the contracts for differences market here in the UK. That is helped by being a competitive market. That's helped focus utility scale projects on cost reduction. And that's been a big aspect. So looking at, for example, the ARENA charts that we see every year, comparing with the fossil fuel cost range, virtually across the board, whether it's bioenergy, geothermal, hydropower, solar voltaic, concentrated solar, offshore and onshore wind, right across the renewable board, the costs are competitive against fossil fuels. And then if you look at the societal benefits of renewables versus fossil fuels, you've got a tangible benefit there as well. And I'm sure we'll discuss that later. But from a cost, renewable energy being a cost and competitive, where we are now, based on the fact that it's a nascent technology, we're only looking at a 10-year horizon so far, compared with 50, 60, 80, even longer if you look at the hydrocarbon market. It's come a tremendous way, and the future is looking even brighter. So the market itself for renewables is low cost, is very competitive. The subsidiary benefits of renewables as opposed to fossil fuels make it a standout choice, I think, between now and the future.
Thank you, Alan. I've recently seen a video shared by Saudi Aramco, the large oil company, that calculates the high cost of building and recycling batteries, windmills, and solar panels. Also, they calculate that energy storage using batteries is way more expensive compared to oil. What is your opinion on that comparison of renewable energy versus fossil energy, just from a cost-benefit perspective?
This is an interesting question to answer because I think in isolation, it's a very difficult question on its own to challenge. We need to take a step back and see where we are in the world in terms of this question. Well, we're in a really challenging spot because presently, in terms of CO2 concentration levels, we're at the highest level we have had in 3 million years. Humans have not been on the planet for that long. So this is all very challenging for us. We're in a very, very difficult situation in terms of CO2 concentration in the atmosphere and its effect on global warming. So we've got a background that says we are in an untested territory in terms of our environment and living with our environment. The other aspect is fossil fuels have effectively undone what has been over the past 5,000 years of cooling of the atmosphere. It's completely reversed that trend. So now we are heading 1.5, 2%, 2 degrees in terms of excessive warming. And that in itself has brought many deleterious effects in once-in-a-lifetime weather events and the costs of that. That's something I think in terms of contextualizing that question, which I'm not trying to avoid, Chris, in any way, but I'm trying to set the scene in which these questions are being asked by self-interested organizations. Okay, so, if you are critical, you'd say this is a bit like the tobacco lobby going to US Congress, telling them that smoking's okay for you. There's no harm to it, right? What is the problem, right? Given the fact that in the United States alone, they are expected to spend something like $300 billion in emergency weather-related events, whether it's hurricanes, fires, floods. These are all day-to-day activities or yearly activities which are becoming more extreme, more frequent, and we're having to spend a cost in these. There's an opportunity cost to that spend. With that background in mind, of course there are, in nascent technologies, costs do become higher. The costs do increase to begin with. As batteries are scaling up, and they are scaling up rapidly, and the technology is moving rapidly, as I said at the start, we are in a technology-led industry now. It's moving much faster than our ability to create the financial models that can maximize the value of these technologies. So we're kind of playing a keep up. We're playing or catch up, I should say. And in that respect, there are issues around complete life cycle of batteries, purely because we've not had batteries in applications for longer than 10 years or 10,000 cycles. But that's been worked on now. We have done a study here at Pure Energy on recycling batteries for sports applications, for motor racing applications. And there is a market for that for sure, because in a number of categories, particularly electric vehicles, second-hand batteries will have something like 7,000 cycles remaining, something like 70% of their expected life cycle. So there's a whole economic value chain to be created from that. And that will be in industrial applications, using batteries from as a second-hand, second life cycle type approach for industrial applications. And that will work very well. And it will bring the cost of batteries in terms of dollars per kilowatt hour down. So I think everything points to the technologies. Again, there are valid arguments or discussions about, why is it so expensive compared with fossil fuels? But we've got to think about tomorrow in terms of the environmental background as well as today and the effects of what we do.
Your company, Pure Energy, does not create energy. It deals with the energy. How can you influence the production of energy to ensure a renewable future?
Well, what we do in Pure Energy is we promote particularly on-site renewable energy applications. And the reason for that is that in the United Kingdom, we tend to, on a business-to-business level, pay quite a high price for electrical grid network supply. It's about the 4th or 5th highest in Europe. And as we're moving away from Europe and we're going into this Brexit-type world, high costs are not something that we should be burning ourselves with if we can avoid it. And based on the trends that we discussed earlier around the lower cost of renewables, then it makes a lot of sense for businesses, particularly the small and medium-sized businesses, which we kind of focus on, to at least look at renewable energy as an on-site generating option, because essentially they will have control of the energy they create. So you generate it, you can use it to benefit your stakeholders, your employees, your customers by providing electric vehicle charging, for example, at low cost or zero cost, whatever suits your model. And with any residual energy, you can arbitrage that to the grid. So you've got a value stream in as well as a commodity that you need to meet your demand profile within on-site energy generation. It also takes pressure off the grid because the grid doesn't need to, with all the predicted electric vehicle charging that people say, which is another negative that people say, we will never be able to meet the electric vehicle requirements, charging requirements, it will overload the grid. And presently, I think that's probably a very good call, but we don't need to. We can generate it ourselves. If we have a flexible and convenient energy infrastructure, including on-site microgrids, then we'll be much more able to be in control of our energy supply and be a much more efficient network, grid network. So that's what we promote, and the benefits are what we see every day and are increasing, but the grid has got a big part to play in that. So we definitely see renewables as being part of the grid network interface, but with a more of a independence on what you generate and why you generate it, and have a predictable low cost of energy supply, which right now most businesses don't have.
Very, very interesting, Alan. Thank you. And the next question is about renewable future. You provide renewable energy to your customers, but this is only one component towards a renewable future. How do you influence your customers to use your offers and to save energy?
Well, what's important for us is, as a technology aggregator, we are agnostic, when it comes to technology. We just want to provide the best value technology for our customers. Solar, battery storage, electric vehicle charging, wind turbines of all scales and sizes. We will analyze the need, the demand, and we will recommend what we believe to be, through an analysis, the best technology solution. So by being agnostic, we also have one eye on the horizon. We're looking at technologies all the time that will benefit the customer. So our position gives us the freedom to look at the marketplace, select the best technology in a market that's moving fast. I'll kind of repeat that again, that will suit the customer. And given the trend of the efficiency of the technology, of the convenience of the technology, that is something that as we are a technology join the dots type company, we think is a very powerful value added tool, particularly now where, for example, in terms of the financial community, the ESG type aspects are really important. Environmental, sustainable governance. If you can prove to your investors that you are climate friendly, you're moving towards an environment that's consistent with their objectives, that makes a lot of business sense. And we promote that, we help that. And in fact, we advise investment companies on sustainability strategies.
Thank you, Alan. Another question is, Europe uses positive effects from the pandemic situation to go ahead with the sustainable energy solution, like using hydrogen to power aircraft. And the first one is planned in 2035. As you know, this despite of economic losses due to COVID-19 and huge necessary investment needed. What's your opinion of this European strategy?
I think it goes back to now is a good time to start thinking about the future and coming out of this pandemic and the economics of it. And I think the European Union effectively do a very good job of that. And I think they understand the global energy marketplace and where the EU should be, and how green it should be, and how quickly we can get from where we are to where we need to be. And the incentives are there. So my understanding is that the EU hydrogen strategy is expected to provide something like 13% of the total energy demand by 2050. And with a very ambitious 6 gigawatt energy production in 4 years' time, which is a massive investment. But when you're starting a market, you need to prime it. And there's a couple of features about hydrogen, I think that's really important. It's capital intensive compared with alternatives. Solar batteries and such. It tends to be very capital intensive. It's more like a traditional fossil fuel type capital model. And in fact, there's a grey hydrogen is effectively derived from gas. Green hydrogen right now is a high cost product. It's something like 3 times the cost of grey hydrogen from gas production. It's something that is important to invest in. I think there's no doubt about that. For my business in particular, because of the scale involved, it's not something that we kind of focus on so much. But I see the bifurcation of the transport market, for example. I think there's a real logic there between commuting, domestic travel, even business travel, fleet travel, to heavy goods vehicle transportation, which I believe is much more suited to fuel cell vehicles because of the range. So I think at that scale, hydrogen makes sense. Green hydrogen makes a lot of sense. Grey hydrogen is not particularly carbon friendly. And I think the sooner we move from grey to green, the better, and that makes sense. And I think the carbon credits in the EU, or the allowances they call them, are kind of pointing in that direction. Coal is phased out. It's highlighting, in terms of the cost of the carbon credits now, it's highlighting this transition from coal to gas, and the demand is there for that. So I think it is a market that's very interesting. It requires a high capital, which is why governments are there. They're the ones who can provide that kind of sovereign-backed guarantees to get these things going. But 13% there's another 87% that will not be hydrogen. So, I tend to focus in that area, less on the hydrogen side.
Thanks for sharing your opinions so openly. I've got a last question for you, and this is about your personal engagement in sustainability. You are very active in LinkedIn and other channels by sharing posts about plastic pollution, the climate crisis, and innovation in energy production and storage. What is your message to the world, Alan, to accelerate these changes towards a better and sustainable time?
Well, I think all of this is important. And we also have a waste to energy part of our business, which we believe is really important, and we're really excited by it. Non-recyclable plastics converted into a fuel or a gas, and it tunes in with the circular economy. But my message would be that effectively time is not on our side. We need to act now, and I know it's an overused kind of expression, but it is a truism. And if we are to believe in the future, safe, a green future for our children, our descendants, and that's a responsibility we all have, right? As a government, as individuals, as companies, then we need to be collectively very serious about creating a better and more sustainable environment. And the sooner we start investing, and sooner we start investing at all levels, the better it will be for all of us in the near future, and for our descendants as well. And that would be my message, I think.
Wow, thank you very much, Alan. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Yeah, my pleasure, and thank you very much, guys. It's been great talking to you, and hope to talk to you again sometime.
Thank you very much, Alan. It was a great insight to our listener, and I'm sure that many of our listeners convinced to use the more renewable energy, and of course, what we promote always, the sustainable future. I think with your messages that we had been more stronger in our messages. Thank you very much again, Alan.
Yeah, thank you very much. A pleasure, guys. Thank you.